Welcome to another episode of Pels in the Blender. It's your boy A. Davis coming to y'all this evening. Well, technically it's more like the afternoon time when we putting this out. Um, Kind of just wanted to touch base with everybody, see what's going on in the Pels universe and what's kind of been sitting on my mind lately as we start seeing some of the rosters for most of the other teams starting to kind of take shape and what it is the Pels need to do to remain competitive in the Western Conference. Because even though Joe Dumars has made some moves, we've already seen, Derek Queen get injured, even though it's looking like he won't be out a significant amount of time. They're talking about being reevaluated in October. And that who knows what that injury is gonna look like, even though it doesn't seem too serious. But free agency and typically free agency isn't that big for the Pelicans per se anyway. You see a lot of other teams starting to make more significant moves. You see Bradley Beal get bought out, go back and go to the Clippers. You see Chris Paul go to the Clippers. They made the move for John Collins. So the Clippers have improved. You've seen OKC. You got to respect OKC. Obviously, they're the champs, and they just got a bunch of resources and players that weren't even playing last year, like Topic, that should be available for them that'll make them a better team. Houston obviously made the move for KD. They brought over Capella. They should be improved this year. Denver brought back Bruce Brown. They brought over Cam Johnson. So, and replacing Michael Porter Jr. And you kind of got to put the respect on Joker. They should be improved. You see a lot of teams making moves. Sometimes whether that's re-signing your own guys like Minnesota re-signing their guys and in the Pelicans re-signing her, which also is a good move. So realistically, we've actually been kind of active and moving on from CJ and bringing in Poole. We were able to get Kevon Looney. We brought in Sadiq Bey, drafting two lottery picks, which you hope, and some based on what you saw from summer league, you're not sure if they're gonna be quite ready to contribute early. But I mean, when you draft lottery picks, you expect those guys, you expect them to produce for you. But the nature of this season and the all in nature of this season, we don't think necessarily with DeJounte being injured for, and I don't even want to say how long DeJounte might be injured for, because you said like you seen the videos of him working out and stuff like that recently, and he's moving around, and who knows when he plans to come back. But with the uncertainty around DeJounte and the the length of his contract, DeJounte got 3 more years at 30 mil, plus, or is it descend? I think it's a descending contract or something like that either. But it's still 3 more years around 30 mil for DeJounte Murray. I think you already took the loss on last season because he wasn't really here, got hurt. He won't be here majority of this season. And even if he does come back, you don't know what kind of shape he's going to come back in. So you kind of have to be aggressive in this particular. You still have to be aggressive with the roster to kind of fill in you know, with what it is you're trying to do in the meantime. So what I want to speak to is some of the free agency moves that I think the Pels really should make. And it's been multiple videos so far where we kind of touched on some of the players that we thought they should bring in. But this particular video, I'm a focus on four, really, two trade targets and two free agency targets, and kind of give my thoughts on why I think why I think they should and shouldn't make each particular move. Now, realistically, when we're talking about what it is that the Pelicans need, they honestly they could use everything, but the two, it feels like the two big areas of improvement need to be the center position the center position or a big in general. You know what I mean? Maybe a guy who could play 4 and 5. But the 5 for sure. And I think you still need some more help at the guard position. Not that a wing could necessarily help, but not necessarily sure if those particular guys may be out there. But I think you do need more guard help in a sense, based on what it is you're trying to do in the coaching that you have. So I think the best way to kind of accomplish that would be taking a big, right? Taking a 5 that also has ball handling capability, which is what you see Joe Dumars is kind of trying to put on the floor, having multiple players on the floor that can do multiple things. Like, he doesn't want, it seems like the identity he's going for is having everybody on the floor be a threat from multiple spots. You be able to shoot, dribble, attack the rim, be able to pass the ball, be able to do multiple things. And there's only a few players I think that are available in the Pelicans price point that I think would actually help. The first one, a couple people spoke on it. I mentioned it a long time ago. But I'll dive into it a little bit right now, is Bol Bol, right? And Bol Bol has had a lot of ups and downs, you know what I mean, throughout his career. A lot of people say when he's not engaged, you can see that he lacks the attention to detail and the effort on the floor that he plays with. But you can see at times also when he does get, an opportunity to play and contribute, he's a pretty solid player. There was a stretch for the Suns recently when he was playing and starting and getting extended minutes. Like, he raised his level of play and was defending the rim, was rebounding, was creating offensively. I think you need those kind of X factors on your team to be able to come in and play and be able to raise their level of play and give you some versatility that you other else wouldn't have. And you need that in like a cheap form of resource, to be honest, because it's not like we just have it's not like the Pelicans just have people beating down the door, you know what I mean, to come join the organization. We don't have the greatest history of attracting free agents and stuff like that. And I know the Pels sometimes have to overpay. So another thing the Pelicans may have to do is take flyers on players that, to be honest, might be on their last legs to a degree. And I think Bol Bol fits that. Like, you saw when Bol Bol was in Orlando, and again, that's, almost 3-4 seasons ago now, but when he was getting minutes for Orlando, he looked pretty good. So with the kind of injury history that you have, so right now we don't know if Derek Queen is going to start the season or right now. Like, is he going to be ready for opening day? We don't know. Is it going to take a week? Is it going to take a month? We're not sure when a player like Derek Queen is coming back. Who do the Pelicans have from the big position that can do similarly what Derek Queen does? Not really any of them. None of them can handle the ball and create kind of like that guy can. So if you were to be able to bring in a cheap player like Bol Bol, again, has the size, has shown he could block some shots. He can help you rebound. He can space the floor a little bit. He instantly becomes a mismatch. And if you insert that guy for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes a game, like, he can be a difference maker off your bench and give you something that I don't think this team has necessarily had. Like, I don't really know what you would like quantify him as, but can he go and play that position for you and give you a little bit of boost to kind of give you some versatility? I think so. So I think Bol Bol for a very cheap contract, because it's not like people are just trying to bring Bol Bol in. I know a lot of people don't look at him as like a winning player. And not just that, he's one of those guys, man, this dude's still fighting to try and stay in the league, but extremely talented. You don't have nothing to lose bringing in a player like that. the other, so that's well, before we move on from Bol Bol, that's my pick. Like right now, I think Bol Bol should be one of the players that we sign, and I think he immediately like would legitimately help the roster. I think he would legitimately help the roster, and I think you could see him in like your top 9 to 10 player rotation with what it is he would be able to do, and also would be able to add some flexibility. So that's my case for Bol Bol. On top of that, being cheap. The second player I want to discuss is, and that's Bol Bol will be the big. The free agent guard I want to discuss is Russell Westbrook. So we talk about Russell Westbrook, and man, Russell is also one of those guard, Hall of Fame guard, veteran guard, very versatile player. He doesn't shoot particularly well, but brains energy, plays hard, can do a lot of different things. I'm not gonna talk about Russ too much. But the main things I kind of want to hint at about Russ is okay. The Pelicans and the fan base was very excited about very eager, I guess, to bring Chris Paul back to New Orleans. An older guard, very different style of play, I understand, but didn't mind and absolutely saying we needed another guard, another veteran guard, so you wouldn't have to put that responsibility of after Poole, who's the guard that you're playing with DeJounte being out, right? And now it's going to rely on Jose, which you've seen Jose play and be able to, produce a little bit, but Jose has his limitations, and I'm a fan of Jose. And or Jeremiah Fears, your rookie number 7 pick, who's shown some flashes and potential, but in a season where you really need to win, like you really need to make the playoffs, do you want to bank on those two being really your only form of guard play? And I know you're gonna play, Z's gonna handle the ball a lot, and Trey's gonna handle it, and Herb's gonna handle it, and I understand all of that. But at the same time, man, sometimes that mindset there has been the weakness of the Pels the last couple seasons. It's been stated, hey, that team needs a point guard. Like even with bringing in Jordan Poole can play some point, but he's more like a combo. Like it's similarly to CJ. You cannot have CJ as your point guard. I don't think you can exclusively have Jordan Poole as the point. So I think you still need a guy that can come in, run the point guard, get your team in position, and have that dog mentality. That's gonna be extremely competitive, gonna push these dudes and try to. He knows what Joe Dumars is trying to do. Like I think those two guys were like kind of correlate. He could lean on Russ as that veteran. Also help Fears come along with that, because Russ has a very aggressive style of play. Attacking downhill, became one of the all-time great passes. I don't care what you say, but Russ is an all-time passer in this league, and you could tell by the numbers and everything. Hits the boards, competes defensively, regardless of whether you say he's good or not defensively. But I think that kind of mentorship will go further with a Jeremiah Fears. Hey man, we bringing in a first ballot Hall of Famer to help mold you, than have him listening to, Jose respectfully, or bringing in a Malcolm Brogdon, who's also been injury prone over the last couple years. So for me, and I think I don't know how much you'd have to pay Russ to get Russ in New Orleans, but I think if you brought in a Russell Westbrook, again, this is about entertainment too. I'm going to see Russ play. Like if you put Russ in the blender, bruh, like that's gonna be exciting TV. Like you'll have more people looking at the Pelicans and seeing, hey, what it is they can do. It might not necessarily move the needle, you know what I mean, too much, but I think that type of player will instantly have credibility in the locker room, demand a level of respect. I think he's gonna bring that toughness that fits in with what it is that Joe Dumars is trying to build, and it's great for this particular season. You could probably get Russ on a 1 year deal, come in, be the underdog. Man, you saw Rondo take a similar type of deal to come to the Pelicans, and people didn't think much about Rondo. Now, granted, they're two different type of players, but Rondo spent time on the bench, wasn't really, playing too much, and then, at some point got inserted into the starting lineup, and then the team took off and stuff. And I'm not saying you got to insert Russ into the starting lineup, but having that type of player who understands where he is in his career, you absolutely could bring Russ in, and he brings value. Now, that's the guard aspect of what I think this team needs to do. So the two players that's still available on the free agent market that I really think the Pelicans should target should be Bol Bol and Russell Westbrook. It'd be ideal if you could find ways to get both of them. To be honest, I'd take them over some of the players that we already have on the roster personally, but that's just the two moves that I would make. Now I kind of want to talk about the trade aspect. So the Pelicans typically improve their team because they're not big at getting free agents, has to be through trades. So the two players that a lot of people have been mentioning is Vucevic from Chicago via trade. Realistically, and it's been Vucevic because Chicago has been trying to get off his salary for a while. He's a very good big, can shoot a little bit, can play in the post, pass, rebound, not overly expensive, something like that, right? Now, in order to get any of these players via trade that we're looking at, the main piece that we're looking at moving for like a significant player at least, because you could probably make a move where you package Jose and Hawkins or something like that. But I don't think any player they can get for, like 10 million in salary is going to be a significant needle mover that makes you say, okay, we're a playoff team for sure. Or, we locked in or something like that. Like, yeah, it'll help improve the roster, possibly, but I don't think that particular move is out there. So the Vucevic move, you have to move DeJounte. So not that I don't think you should move DeJounte for Vucevic, but if you brought in Vucevic, in my opinion, I don't really think that's a Joe Dumars move, to be honest. Well, like, the more I sat there and looked at it, Vucevic is like 35 years old. You know what I mean? And it's not that he can't play, but he doesn't, like, you already have one of the older bigs in Kevon Looney. I don't think Joe's trying to bring in another older player that you have to commit time and time and resources to. And when I say resources, I mean, like, he has to get his touches, and yes, he'll help improve the team, but like, not that the season would rely on Vucevic, but how much would Vucevic actually improve the roster, in my opinion? I don't think that Vucevic would take you from let's say if you're already a fringe playing team to a definite playoff team. And I understand the value of, hey, being able to get some kind of production for DeJounte Murray, who won't be in for a while. I completely understand that. The backside, I guess, of that is why would Chicago make that move? Because yes, they want to get Vucevic, but at the same time, like, you'd have to, in order to make that move when it matters, which is now, you probably have to give up picks to get off DeJounte. You'd have to give up picks to get off DeJounte. And realistically, why would Chicago take DeJounte? Like, yes, they're in a position where they could, but they already have the guard play. I'm sure Joe Dumars isn't trying to give up any more of his picks for like a fringe player. Like, if you're gonna give up picks, you need to give up picks for somebody who makes you, I guess, exponentially better. I don't think Vucevic does that. But the Bulls, yes, you would get the pick, but they already have guard play. You'd have to immediately try to reroute DeJounte because you still have Kobe White over there that they're trying to figure out. Josh Giddey, they're trying to figure out. Noah Singate, that looks like it's going to be a player that, has some ball handling responsibilities and stuff. He's a rookie, so who knows? And the rookie they got last year was coming along. So it's not really a position in Chicago for DeJounte right away. They would literally be doing it for the pick aspect of it, which again, if you're Chicago, you consider it, but I don't really know if like, unless you're giving them like the Atlanta deal, and I don't think they would give the Atlanta deal to Chicago for a player like Vucevic, because I don't think he just moves the needle that much. So not that he isn't a helpful player or he couldn't make you a little bit better and stuff like that, but at his age, I don't think he fits the timeline necessarily for what it is that Joe is trying to put together with these players. If you look at it, most of the players that you have right now on the roster, other than your young players, they're all lined for the next 2 to 3 seasons. And after this season, which is the all-in season, everything's kind of going to be up for grabs to see what happens. So my thought is, and which is the name of the title, I think the Pelicans need Sabonis, Domantas Sabonis. I've been shouting this for a while, and again, until somebody kills it, I think that's the move that the Pelicans can make that fits all of the criteria for what it is that the Pelicans need to do. So the reason I think that it works, right? Because it has to be beneficial for both teams. So first, obviously, Joe Dumars has, from what we've seen from what it is he's been doing, it's been a lot based off of relationships, right? A lot of people he brought in Troy from, he had time with the Pistons. Troy Weaver had relationships with the Wizards, brought in his people from the Wizards. Joe Dumars had significant relationships with Sacramento, in a sense. What Joe Dumars was, offered, if I'm not mistaken, was offered the Sacramento job. So he also have a relationship with Sabonis because he helped out, a little bit with Sacramento over the last couple of seasons. So with Domantas Sabonis, when they traded De'Aaron Fox, Sacramento the reports were coming out at the end of all last season, that going into the offseason, hey, what are we doing with Sabonis? Are we keeping him? Are we moving him? Or like, what does Sabonis want to do? Right. And obviously, if they put Sabonis on the open market, I think there'll be teams in better positions to trade for Sabonis than the Pelicans. But I'm a Pelicans fan, so I'm here to make the Pelicans case. I think also Sacramento has been recently looking for another guard to come in with their team. They signed Dennis Schroeder this offseason, but they're still looking for another legitimate point guard to go with Malik Monk and Zach LaVine. I'm sure they're going to want somebody who could defend, distribute, do some scoring and stuff like that. And with the young players that they have, Keegan Murray, and they just drafted Nick Clifford, they're still on a, I don't think they're on a win now kind of timeline, but also still want to be competitive, right? So adding young talent also is valuable for them. So for me, this is the trade that I put together that I think would get Domantas Sabonis to the Pelicans. As you can see, is DeJounte Murray, Jordan Hawkins, Jose, and Yves Missi for Sabonis. It doesn't have any picks included into it, and maybe you could figure that out. But I think this particular move helps both teams because you get the point guard of now, not now necessarily, but DeJounte will be back at some point this year. It'll buy you some time when DeJounte coming back. You're not really in a win now, but he'll help ease some of the point guard woes that they have on top of having Dennis Schroeder. You get a young big with potential and athleticism to come in and fill in Eves. You get some shooting in Hawkins, who, and again, I think Hawkins still has a lot of potential. I just don't know if he'll realize that potential in New Orleans. It's possible, but we don't know. But he was still a lottery pick. He's shown flashes of being able to be a really good scorer And maybe if you put him over there, who knows what it is you might get. You can probably sell his upside. And Jose, also while DeJounte's coming back rehab, and you have another guard that's played, has been around for a while. At this point, Jose is a veteran, brings energy, is going to compete. When they drafted Davion Mitchell and Jose were like similarly type players, I think, as far as like those scrappy guys and stuff like that, that's just gonna compete and play and kind of do what they can, but still a little bit undersized. I think Jose gives you that, so they're familiar with those types of players at least. And the Pelicans get Sabonis, not career, but like over the last couple seasons, Domantas has averaged like 20 and 14 and 7 assists per game. Now, like, it's up and down. One year is 6 assists, another year is 8 assists, but that's really what he's been doing over the past couple years of since he's been in Sacramento. And even when he was Indy, he showed a lot of promise as well, which is why they made, the deal for Halliburton to bring in Sabonis. But let's say the Pelicans add Sabonis to this roster. First off, Sabonis plays the 5. He's a guy that can play the 5 or the 4. He can handle the ball. He shoots the 3 a little bit. He's willing to space. He's a great rebounder. That's important because the Pelicans' primary players are not great rebounders. You have a guy that fits the age timeline. He's 29. He has 3 years left on his deal, which the 3 years left on his deal is also big because you're not in a position where you have to decide right away or you have to blow it up right away with, what it is we're going to do. And if Derek Queen shows the potential that he has, by the time that Derek Queen is ready and Fears and stuff is ready, you can either move on if you need to, or you still have a guy that's still young enough to contribute. And a player like Domantas Sabonis doesn't really lose their value. So if you need to move on from him at some point, you could. But elite rebounder, can run the break, can distribute the ball, he can score if need be. Like having that level of player, he's another borderline all-star, which you could argue he should be a 2-time all-star as well over the last couple seasons, kind of like just getting voted out or something like that, not really making it being in Sacramento. But I think if you bring in a player like Sabonis, man, you immediately go from a fringe playing team, a guy that's like kind of on the line, to okay, y'all should be a top 6 seed for sure. You could run a starting lineup of Poole, Z, Trey, Herb, Sabonis, right? That's a lot of creation. Sabonis already played the 5, so you could defend there. If you need to play another big next to him, and let's say you wanted to insert Queen at the 4, like now you have a lot of creation from your front court. Both of them are great rebounders, so your rebounding would be at least theoretically, your rebounding should be top of the league level rebounding, right? You got guys that can run the break. Both of them are really good passers. Domantas is a great screener. Smart playing the game. He can finish around the paint. You eliminate those. You eliminate that the question of what it is we're getting from the 5 position or from the 4 position if you have Domantas and Kevon Looney as your rotational bigs, and even with a little bit of Derek Queen, sprinkled in there. I think you would have quality front court play throughout the game. Even if you sprinkle in Carlo to still have some athleticism, he would probably be, maybe one of the most athletic out of that group, but you still have a young big, that showed some upside, could probably defend the rim and stuff like that. And Domantas defensively isn't great, but like he's not a bad defender as well. And And I just think if you add a Domantas Sabonis playing with Zion and Trey Murphy and Herb Jones and Jordan Poole, that lineup, that starting lineup would be one of, in my opinion at least, one of the top most versatile lineups in the Western Conference. People, you would need to see it, obviously, but I think they would. So then you look at what you have off your bench. Once you move on from DeJounte Hawkins, and Hawkins, you and Jose, I couldn't think of who the third guy was, and Jose, you immediately open up guard minutes for Jeremiah Fears, which is what you want to do anyway. Now that's where bringing in another veteran point guard comes in, but you allow your guy to have an opportunity to play and contribute right away. You still have Michael Peavy at the wing, so you still have some wing depth and some scoring. You still have Sadiq Bey, who also can bring some scoring off the bench. You still have Carlo there. So I think you still have players who, to where if you do make that kind of move, you're not completely destroyed from a roster construction standpoint or a team construction standpoint, because you still got players off the bench that I think will be able to produce. And that's really where most of the all-in nature of the move will come in. Because realistically, man, come playoff time, you only playing 8 or 9 people anyway. And if you were to be able to bring in like a Russell Westbrook or something like that, another guard that can just come in and give you those minutes, if Fears isn't ready right away, by year 2, Fears needs to play anyway. So it don't matter. By year 2, like, this dude was drafted number 7 overall. I'm of the mindset he needs to be like ready to go at some point this season. From now towards the end of the season, we should see Jeremiah Fears being able to get minutes on the floor. But I think if you bring in a Domantas Sabonis, you have another like star level player. Like, example, we think Trey's gonna be a star, and we don't want to take away from Trey's opportunity to be that number 2 guy and elevate himself into that. But Domantas is such a like a plug and play, easy fit kind of player that I think you can plug him in and he won't take away from what it is that you're trying to get from Trey Murphy or Jordan Poole from a shot perspective. Domantas Sabonis only shoots the ball. Where is it? I think he only shoots the ball. He only averages like 10 to 12 shots a game. Like, for his career, he only shoots the ball 10 to 12 times a game, which is amazing. Like, it's not like you're going to have a guy that's just demanding the ball that you have to run the offense from like a scoring perspective. He can still play off the ball. He can be a great screener. He can fill in and do all of those things. I think if you bring in a player like Sabonis, and that's the guy to me, like, from a culture standpoint, I think fits. From what Joe's bringing in, I think fits. I think he's also been disrespected a little bit. So I think that aspect of it, the last time you saw him in the playoffs with, like in a full series against Draymond, like, it didn't really go well. So I think he has a little chip on his shoulder, but hasn't really had the team to be able to get in the playoffs and like kind of prove what it is that he can do on the next level. I think you bring in a guy like that, and essentially, like, I know a lot of people have been wanting Markkanen, to come in and kind of play that spot a little bit. But if you bring in Sabonis, I think Sabonis is a better fit for what it is the Pelicans are trying to do than bringing in a Lauri Markkanen or something like that. So that'll be all today. Again, those are my 4 players I think we should target. The 2 in free agency that's still available. Bol Bol, think you could get him for cheap. Be a versatile player for you. Russell Westbrook, veteran guard, be able to help stabilize excitement. I think the blender will be going crazy. You know what I'm saying? Watching some of the plays. Crazy both ways, because Russ could be up and down. Who knows? But shit, sometimes you need a player like that, that volatility, you know. And from a trade aspect, I understand the Vucevic deal, but I personally don't think that Vucevic fits what it is that Joe wants to do. And this season to me is an all-in kind of season. And I just don't know if you want to make the bet on Vucevic in an all-in season. And I'm not necessarily sure he fits your timeline of what it is these guys going on, because again, most of them are signed at least 2 years, 3 years, and they're all kind of around the same age range and stuff like that. Like even Kayvon, like he looks old, but he's not that old. You know what I mean? So I think all of these guys are around the same range. So if you bring in a 35-year-old Vucevic, I'm not sure that necessarily goes with what it is they're trying to build. And the move I think that there is to make is Sabonis. It's Sabonis, man. I think that guy comes in, fits. It allows you to create some like you have to give up some stuff to get him, like give up some players. But it creates the all-in nature of what it is you're going for. He's a borderline all-star. He helps fills the rebounding and playmaking and scoring from the 5 position that you need. He's a great screener. I think he's shown that he can defend the 5, you know, to a degree. He's not a rim protector, but he could play in the paint, you know what I mean, if you need him to. And I just think that guy, you know, signed with the extension, what it is that he's faced, been doubted a little bit, I think he's looking for another fresh opportunity. And I think the Pelicans would be the perfect place for him to come in and reestablish himself and maybe make an all-star. And I think if you have if you have Zion, Trey, Sabonis with what Jordan Poole and Herb can be for you, I think that's honestly a really great starting lineup that could be very dangerous. Like I don't think a lot of people is going to give it the respect it deserves until you prove it. But on paper, they should be really good. And then you allow for, you know, your bench to be your bench. Derek Queen, Fierce, Peavy, Sadiq Bey, Carlo. We run it. You know, get you another couple pieces and it's off to the races, man. So that's gonna do it for me. Again, I appreciate everybody for tuning in, tapping in. You know what I'm saying? We got another video. Oh, by the way, we got another video with Chris Conner coming up. So be on the lookout for that. We'll probably do a live video for those, but we'll see kind of how that goes. So again, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, comment on the video. You know what I mean? Again, appreciate everybody. Y'all have a good day. Peace.